Good evening, parish family. It's a pleasure to be with you. Uh, Thanks to technology, to be with you virtually in your own homes while we are here at the parish. I am joined by Deacon Alex Barbieri, who's our Senior Director of Operations, and also Kathleen Hastings, our Director of Finance, as well as Tim Truss, who is the Director of Strategic Initiatives here at the parish, and Sam, who is with the Spire group that has been so helpful in running this wonderful campaign that we have going on. So welcome to each and every one of you. As with all things, let us begin with a prayer. I'll lead us in our campaign prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come before you, Lord Jesus, grateful for the many blessings you provide for us as individuals and as a family of St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church. As you instructed your disciples to go and preach the gospel to all nations, we pray that we may continue to grow in our faith and strengthened by the sacraments to live out the mission that you gave us. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the continued growth in our community. And as we fix our hearts and minds towards our future, we ask for your blessings and guidance in our vision for St. Francis for generations to come. May you always continue to give us wisdom, perseverance, clear direction in our discernment, and never let us forget the words that you promised your disciples. I am with you always until the end of the age. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so I thought a great way to begin is, first of all, to kind of let everybody know where we are presently in our capital campaign. As of today, the total pledge towards the campaign is $15,129,751. Now that represents 608 participating households. So from those households, that's an incredible amount. And we are so blessed and we're so grateful that we are where we are with those households. So everybody that's pledged, thank you so very much. It bespeaks a great generosity from our parishioners.
And everyone loves a good challenge, right? And so and some competitive fire. So you may have heard in Mass or seen in the bulletin, we're in the middle right now of our February participation challenge. And so, believe it or not, 2 weeks ago yesterday is Ash Wednesday. So Lent is upon us. And so as we are getting ready to guide the community into a deep season spiritually, we also want to ask for your support. So for the campaign, so everyone who pledges by the end of this month, by February 28th, that's if it's a new pledge that comes in tonight, all the way through the 28th, and all the way going back to when we started just a few months ago, will be entered into a drawing to win a reserved parking spot and a pew for every single Mass, starting at Ash Wednesday all the way through Easter Sunday and every Sunday in between during Lent. So keep an eye out for that pledge and give some thought to participating now, and you may be the one that gets the reserved parking spot. And also, a lot of the ministries are really getting excited about this, and we had a chance to be at the Knights of Columbus last Thursday, and I know some more groups talking about it this week. So there's also a ministry participation challenge taking place. So the ministry with the highest participation percentage by the end of March 31st, will get a prize package from the parish. So ministries, be on the lookout for details on that soon, but know that that's coming as well for all the various ministries.
So we want to go over with you, and some of you have already seen this, but just some projects overview of what we envision for our parish in the coming years, and what the Family Life Center will look like, and the rectory.
So one of the questions that we get is, I see the pictures in the sketches in the narthex or in Gubbio's, but it'd be great to have sort of a bird's eye view, an aerial view. And so you might have seen this recently, the last month or so, in either the narthex in the church or in Gubbio's. So this is our land from above. You see the existing church and chapel, of course, the existing parish center. And then right off to the side there, as you go further west on the campus, is where we are proposing the new Family Life Center. Attached to that, right in front, so essentially right off of El Dorado, is where the Adoration Chapel that's connected and part of the Family Life Center will be located. And so this really represents a great shift for us as a parish, because now that non-worship entrance to the church, to the parish, our front porch, if you will, it's gonna be right off of El Dorado as you walk right in there to the new Family Life Center. And then within the Family Life Center will be an auditorium, a beautiful banquet hall, 20 new meeting rooms. I know a lot of ministries, a lot of groups ask us to meet. We've had to turn down a lot of groups or reduce the amount of space. We've got everything from Vacation Bible School to our Faith Formation, our youth ministry program with wait lists, simply because we don't have enough room to meet. If you're familiar with our Acts community, the men's Acts, right now they're having their send-off. It's about all we can do not to have them outside in the 15-degree temperature. They're stuck inside the narthex of the church, squeezed in there to do a send-off for a really special weekend for them. So with 20 new meeting rooms will be very, very helpful, of very different sizes, to allow our community to gather together for prayer, for study, for formation, and for fellowship. The 800-seat auditorium will be in there for mass and events. And just think how big that will be, an auditorium for us to have our, Ash Wednesdays coming up, to have masses there. We have masses right now in our great hall, and we're already scrunched in that great hall in those masses. So to be able to have that auditorium for those masses, but also for special events. You'll hear this weekend about our Lenten mission coming up, and one of the biggest challenges we have in planning that is just, where do we put everybody, right? Everybody that wants to be part of that Lenten mission. So the auditorium will be a great opportunity for us. A 500-seat banquet hall will be in there, which gives us great opportunities for those of us who were just at the Valentine's Gala 2 weeks ago. I had a wonderful event, so you saw how important it is for us to gather. Just like the Lord gathers. In Scripture, we see the wedding at Cana, for example, and many other chances where the Lord brings everybody together for a banquet, to dine together, to celebrate together. So that'll give us a chance not only for those big celebrations, but also for lots of meetings between our youth, young adults, Vacation Bible School, and you name it. And of course, we also talked about the Adoration Chapel, and a lot of folks think that'll be sort of the piece de resistance, Father, right, of this project, and we agree it's going to be a beautiful space. A lot of times folks ask us, well, gosh, we have a beautiful chapel already. Why an Adoration Chapel? Why an Adoration Chapel? And you're right, we have a beautiful chapel, and it's the workhorse, right, Father? I mean, we use it a ton. We can fit about 350 or 400 people in there, and it's used for at least 2 masses a day, at least, and oftentimes 3 masses a day. We use it for countless funerals, countless weddings, quinceañeras, rehearsals for all the various choirs. So for us to be able to have adoration perpetually, where Jesus Christ is present 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, for our community to go there and to pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament, is a really special opportunity for us. So we're very excited about that as well. And also dedicated youth space. The youth are the church, not the future. They are the church. And so it's really important to all of you. You have told us that over and over again, that we need to have more dedicated space for the youth, and to gather for those big conversations, but also for those small conversations, to be able to have quiet prayer time with small groups, with friends, to be able to come together to study. Those are the opportunities that we're looking to cultivate with this dedicated space for the youth.
So another part of the master plan is the rectory. Now, why do we need a new rectory? Well, many of you know that the current rectory, which sits on part of our parking lot near the office and the church, that rectory, when it was initially constructed, was to house 2 priests, because there were only 2 priests at the time serving St. Francis community. As the community continued to grow, another priest was assigned to St. Francis, and the rectory had to be retrofitted to accommodate the 3 priests. When I came here to St. Francis 6 years ago, the community continued to grow, and so we asked for another priest. Now, the challenge was housing the new priest because there was no more space in the rectory. So as many of you know, I had to move out and am presently living off campus. But that is not ideal. The ideal is that all the priests live on campus, providing that spiritual, fatherly presence in the community, so that we are here to serve you, and you know where to find us, and so the ideal is to have the 4 priests back on campus in a suitable environment where the priests can go and have their quarters, are able to renew their strength, are able also to enjoy camaraderie and fellowship together. So the rectory will have both 6 priest apartments, right, where a priest can live, have a place of study, and then there will be shared spaces where we can come together and have fellowship with one another and share meals together. There will also be a guest suite as part of the rectory where we can house visiting priests and religious that come for all types of retreats and missions and talks. And as is very important to this community, the rectory will be housed on campus on the northwest corner of the campus. So I want to make that very clear because I think there was a question about that on whether the rectory would be on campus. And yes, I can affirm that it will. It will be on that northwest corner.
Yeah.
The existing rectory will then be raised to provide 96 parking spaces. It's prime parking space there because it's so close to the church and the office. So that'll be good for our parishioners as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's such an important project for us, Father. And I know so many people have expressed that need and that desire to make sure that the priests are taken care of, right? And that you have more than adequate housing, right? You need that. We have to take care of our priests as a Catholic faith. That's absolutely vital. So it's a very exciting project. Yep. And part of the project for this phase 1 project is to also look at the existing parish center. And so what are we planning on doing that? Certainly not as much as we're doing with a brand new building, with the new rectory, the Adoration Chapel, and the Family Life Center, but we are trying to do some renovation within this current building so that we can get better use out of it and better longevity out of it as well. One of the first things we want to do is we want to renovate and relocate our Flourishing Kids Day Out program. We have a great Kids Day Out program. Lauren Hartsock, who's been here for almost 20 years now, does a fantastic job. There are wait lists, another area where there are some wait lists for some of those ages. And so we want to expand the Kids Day Out program. We want to move it over to the side that's the east side of the parish center. And that's something that a lot of our parents have suggested and really have desired for us to do, from an ease of dropping kids and picking kids up, as well as a safety thing as well. We will also relocate the nursery. So we have a nursery that's far, far too small for a parish our size. So we will relocate and expand the nursery so we can accommodate many more kiddos, and also have segregated areas by age group, right? So that little ones aren't necessarily with older ones, and also make that nursery right by the entrance to the church. So it's a lot easier, a lot more convenient for those parents to drop kiddos off and head right to Mass, and then right after Mass come in and get their kiddos without having to trek halfway across the campus. We will also relocate our offices as well, so we have some additional meeting space, and then renovate the Great Hall to improve the usability of that. So that's a smaller project within this, but certainly a very important one for all of us.
So another part of our capital campaign is to assist the fundraising efforts of the Mother Teresa Catholic School that will be housed on the corner of Independence and Main. This is a school that will comprise the grades of pre-kinder to 8th grade. Okay, and it will serve the Collin County area. We will be leading the charge as St. Francis. We will be the largest parish leading the charge. There are other parishes that will join us in this effort, like St. Gabriel's and St. Jude's and Our Lady of Angels and St. Michael's. But we have been asked to take the lead in those efforts, and so 10% of everything raised in our campaign will go to help fund the construction of the Mother Teresa Catholic School. There is a little caveat on that we'll get to a little bit later in the presentation, but that is our way of expressing our support on this very important initiative to have Catholic education here in Collin County.
And you may have seen this presented in a slightly different way, whether it's in the narthex in the church or in Gubbio's. And these would be our tiered goals. And so this is our phase one. The victory goal would be at that top level. That's what we're shooting for, right? Is that victory goal of $44 million. That mid-tier goal is the celebration goal at $33 million. And then the foundational goal, or sort of the minimum entry level for us to really start the project, to break ground, so to speak, is at $22 million. And so you say, well, what's included in those? Well, if you look at that foundational goal, and you see this here on the screen as well, it is the construction of the entire Family Life Center, but not finishing out the entire thing. So we would finish out the auditorium, the first floor, and the entranceway, the big gathering space in the first floor, as well as all of the meeting rooms on the first floor as well. The remaining spaces on the second level would be shells. They would be unfinished. This level also includes the completion of a new rectory and the demolition of the existing rectory, and then, of course, the funding of our obligation to the Mother Teresa Catholic School. Now, the second goal, the celebration goal, has everything that first goal has. So it's still the partial completion of the Family Life Center, the auditorium down on the first level. This time, all of the meeting rooms, so not just the first floor, but the second floor as well as that dedicated use space. And then the remaining spaces would be unfinished shells as well. It would include the new rectory and demolition of the existing, just like the first goal, and then partial renovation of the parish center, and of course our obligation to the Mother Teresa School. Now, the victory goal that we're striving to get to is everything in phase one. So it's the complete build out, the complete furnishing of the entire Family Life Center, the new banquet hall, the auditorium, all the meeting rooms. There's a big size commercial kitchen in there. Of course, the dedicated youth area, and then the Adoration Chapel is where we see that victory goal. The completion of the new rectory, of course, is there, renovation of the parish center, and the Kids' Day Out, and then the Mother Teresa School would be for that entire victory goal when we're all in.
So as you saw earlier, we have 609 families that have made a pledge to the campaign. That represents only 7% of parish families. That means that we still have 93% of families out there. And so that's encouraging in the sense that we know that if all those 93 families participate, we will easily reach our victory goal. One thing that we want to stress is that every gift matters, no matter what the size. Mm-hmm. And not only that, the sooner that the pledge comes in, we can start as soon as we have those pledges, we can start with shovels in the ground. So very important that we all kind of work as a family of God, make our pledge as soon as possible, so we can continue so that we can start building as soon as possible. So here are a few questions that have come in to date and that we want to address and answer. You also have an opportunity to send us your questions in this virtual town home through your computer. So you can type in your question on the chat, and Sam and Tim are moderating here, and they will have your questions that come in. We will address them as we are able to, but we do have some questions that we know are out there in the community and that we want to give answers to. And then Kathleen Hastings also will come on. You'll hear her voice to address the specific financial questions about the campaign. So first question, What if I can't give what was asked of me?
Great question.
So many of you received a letter from me with a particular, a specific ask. And that ask was based on your previous generosity to our faith community. And so Steyer, who is helping us run the campaign, extrapolated from your past generosity in giving and ability to give, suggested that number. And it's a suggested number. Some of you have said, I can give more and have pledged more. And then there are others who said, I cannot meet that pledge and have pledged less. Nothing is too small. The goal of this is whatever you are able to give. And so I hope you see that my particular request from you was an invitation based on your previous generosity. But we ask everybody, the goal here is that everybody gives what they can. And if everybody gives what they can, we will be successful in this campaign.
And Father, if I can add to that too, because we get this question. This is a great question. I'm glad we're starting off with this one. And we get variations of this quite a bit, don't we? I think a similar one that we get is, with the financial outlook for my particular situation for 2025, I'm not sure how it's going to go. And so, I was talking to one family just last week, and they said, I want to give X, but I don't know how this year is going to go, or it's a 3-year campaign. So I don't know how these next 3 years are going to go. I know I can give here now. Can I commit now to what I know I can give and then come back and adjust to that higher level or change my pledge down the road? The answer is yes. Absolutely. So if to Father Rudy's point, to your point, Father, if we can give whatever level you can give right now, do it, give right now. And then if you want to come back and adjust down the road, you certainly can do that. Yeah, we get this question a lot too. What is the deadline to make my pledge? So a couple things. One, I'm reminded on a regular basis that this process it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we've only been really at this in this public phase of the campaign since October. It's only been a few months. It might seem like longer, right, Father? But it's only been a few months. And so the question is, we were talking about this earlier. When's the deadline? Well, the best day to make your pledge was Wednesday, was yesterday. The very second best day to make your pledge is today, right? Father Rudy mentioned a few minutes ago, the sooner we get the pledges in, the sooner we can go to the diocese to say, as we've been collaborating with them all along in this process so that they know our plans, of course. They've been blessing them. The bishop has been blessing our plans all along, of course. But we'll go to the diocese and say, here's what we have pledged. Here's what our community has said that they would give us over the next 3 years. And then the sooner we can get that started. So really, the deadline is dependent on you all, on our community. As soon as you're able to make that commitment, the sooner we can get started on everything. So that's really what's driving the timing here.
When is the groundbreaking scheduled for, and what's the duration of the whole project? Mm-hmm. So we're hoping, we estimate if we can finish our campaign by the end of April, the 1st of May, and have pretty much all of the pledges in by that framework, we figure that we can start construction by the end of this year, 2025. And we are told that the duration of the project would be about 18 to 24 months, so about 2 years.
Yeah, and if I just add, that's our goal. Of course, a lot of that is depending on again our community and how soon we can meet at least that first goal, that $22 million goal. And then a couple other caveats too. We would, of course, have to work with the city of Frisco. We had a great experience working with them with the Gubbio's Coffee Shop. But what we learned in that is that, to their credit, they're very, very thorough. And so we'll definitely have to make sure we get their approval. And as I mentioned, we're also working with the diocese, and we'll have to get their approval throughout this process too. So some of that timing is based on some factors beyond just St. Francis here.
Sure. Mm-hmm. What is the plan if we fail to raise the minimum $22 million to start construction? Will the scope of the project change? So the scope of the project will remain the same. What will happen is we'll have to find alternate forms of funding, right? And so we're prepared to be creative, but the scope of the project will remain unchanged. We think that this is where we need to go. It's clearly defined. This is going to provide for our future generations and allowing us to continue the mission entrusted to us by the Lord. So the scope of the project will not change. We just have to get very creative on alternate sources of funding.
Yeah, it's also important too that we take the time to make sure that everyone receives the invitation to give. Father Rudy, you mentioned that this is an invitation to participate, and so we want to make sure that we have as much opportunity to do that. So yeah, that's partly how we'll get there with that being a little bit creative. With the amount of money pledged to date, is it possible to start the engineering and design of the new rectory? Fabulous question. And we discussed this quite a bit. We discussed with the diocese, with the architects quite a bit, and there's some pros and cons to that, right? For one thing, the diocese is looking at this as one big project. So those projects that we talked about, it's one big project, and so the idea of starting one and not the other is something that they've asked us to really consider, just doing it holistically, doing it in one fell swoop. We often also see, if I'm just being really transparent here, right? We want to give everyone the opportunity, like I just mentioned, the invitation to pledge, the invitation to participate in this campaign. And so if we start too soon, we don't want to give the impression that, oh, well, the mountain has been climbed and there's nothing else to participate in, so I guess they don't need my participation. So we want to make sure that we get enough opportunities to invite as many people to participate as is possible. What else would you add to that, Father?
Sure. I mean, the pro of beginning the rectory is that people will see that there's activity, that the funds that have come in are being put to use. And so we could discern to start the rectory early. Yeah. We do have the possibility, obviously, of the amount that is pledged. Of that, I believe we have cash on hand, maybe 5 million. And so could we start the rectory project? Yes. Yeah. But again, we're weighing the pros and the cons of what that would mean overall and holistically, as Deacon Alex mentioned.
Yeah. And I can add that we also get this question too. I'm not sure if it's tonight per se, but I've been asked this too. What is the first project? So the rectory is the first project. That will be the first. And part of that is based on need, based on the desire to take care of our priests and to make sure they have great housing. But it's also sort of that domino effect. We need to put the new rectory in, the priests need to move, we need to clear out the old rectory in that land and make those 96 parking spots, which will give us enough parking spots when we start building the new Family Life Center. So the rectory is definitely the first project, regardless of when we start that. What strategies and tactics are planned to gain support from parishioners who have not yet pledged their support? Well, you're in one of them right now. So one of the ideas that folks said to us is, how about a Q&A, right? So that's why we have this this town hall, for us to give everyone an update and also for everyone to ask us some questions. So that's one of them. And you saw some other things that we talked about earlier in this presentation. That February challenge, that Lent challenge of making that pledge by the 28th to be entered into the drawing to win that reserve parking space and that reserve pew from Ash Wednesday all the way through Easter. So that's one of them. The ministry challenge is another one. And really just try to take the time to ask you and to have as many conversations as possible, to hear from us, to hear from others on the team, to hear from your fellow parishioners as to why this is so important. These are all important things that we're doing to try to get the word out. But it's not just us. And I think that's a really important part here, Father, right? It's not just us that has the responsibility for this. It's all of you. So interesting that I know some of you who are on this town hall tonight have not yet made a decision if you're going to pledge or not, and if so, what amount. And some of you have already. Regardless of where you are, we ask that you help support this through prayer. Your prayer, Father, you prayed that our campaign prayer when we first started, that is the prayer for the I Am With You Always campaign. So we ask you to pray that every day and get the word out. Be an advocate. Help others pass this information along that you're hearing tonight to others in your sphere of influence here at St. Francis who may have other questions as well. And then come to us. Ask us, reach out to us, email me, call me. Let's sit down, let's have a cup of coffee, and let's talk about what your questions are and how we can get the information out.
Yeah, and we're also seeking ways to also keep in mind what Deacon Alex said about prayer. Prayer has to be essential and primary. This is about our conversation with the Lord and kind of hearing his voice and where he wants us to go. So we will also have the holy hour set aside, particularly for the asking the Lord to bless us in this campaign, right? And to again hear his voice guiding us and directing us and having us discern. So I think that's very important. We're also reaching out to our ministries and our groups and our organizations. Our groups and ministry organizations are the ones that will benefit the most from these projects, being able to meet, having the meeting space, being able to gather together as a community, having fellowship with one another. And so we are visiting the different groups of the parish and soliciting their support. We hope to also address the families that make up our faith formation program. We have a very strong program that has a waiting list, right? And so we hope to reach out to those families, and also our Kids Day Out families that enjoy the services provided by the Kids Day Out program. So, and then of course things that we're already doing, and you'll hear about it at the different masses and announcements, and we'll keep informing the community. We'll certainly use our social media. So, and other creative ways. I mean, we've done the chats that we've had at Cafe Gubbio, and we may continue those. So things like that.
Yeah, and just you know, have fun. It's also a blessing too, because I know we've had some amazing conversations with people and have gotten to know people on a much different and much deeper level, and it's been a true blessing. But you know, I also just look at this question and think, you know what, this is our faith. You know, we are proud to profess this, and this is our home. This is your home. This is your spiritual home. You belong here. And so we want you to really feel that sense of empowerment and sense of ownership to ask questions to us, to get the information answered, and to really help advocate for this entire project for this generation of Catholics in your home, and then the next generation as well.
One other thing we're doing is we're having volunteers call. So we're very grateful for that and answer questions that people may have. So if anyone on tonight is interested in making calls to fellow parishioners, please reach out to us. We would love to have you join in that effort.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah. And thanks to our volunteers. We had a calling night last night, and our volunteers made several hours of calls. I think 150 calls, something like that. Yeah. So that's a great point, Kathleen. Thank you. And if you want to join that great team of Army of volunteers, then please do sign up. Yeah.
We have a great group of ambassadors, and I'm so grateful for all the ambassadors that have been making the calls, been talking to our parishioners. This past weekend at all of our Spanish masses, we had the Spanish ambassadors have personal encounters with the parishioners, and we were very successful there. So thank you to all who have been helping out. Great point, Kathleen. Mm-hmm. Who came up with the campaign? Are there any other campaigns closely related to this one? So the campaign essentially came from the community, and us having a listening ear to the needs and the desires of our community. That's how this began. And then with our leadership team and assessing and seeing if this is the right thing to do, and then going back to the community as a whole and having the surveys that we initially carried out, all of which came back as most favorable and most positive of yes, we are a growing community, we need to prepare for the future, and this is the right thing to do at this time. And so that's where the idea of the campaign came from. There are other campaigns that are related to this one and of this magnitude. And so I know of a couple of projects, one in Nebraska. There's a parish there, smaller than us, who achieved a $40 million campaign. And so they were very successful at this, and in that amount. There was also another parish in Houston who had an $80 million campaign, and they also were able to reach that amount. So a lot of evidence that it is possible and doable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I really love that point, Father. You know, this really is what you all have said to us is needed. And how many times have we heard there's not enough meeting spaces? You know, I want to go to the chapel to pray. You know, you might have seen the video we did a couple weeks ago with Beckett, one of our teens, who the day he got his driver's license, 16 years old, his birthday, he gets his driver's license, he comes up here to pray in the Adoration Chapel, and it's being used by a different group. He can't go in there and pray, right? So this has all been born out of this community's need to grow in our faith and to have more places to gather. And Gubbio started the same way. You know, Gubbio started off with this idea of we need more fellowship, we need more community, we want a place to gather. And so we took the existing space that we had, which was really really underused and turn that into Gubbio's Coffee Shop. So this very much is a response to your needs. What is preventing more families from participating in the campaign? Well, that's a great question, and one that we spend a lot of time praying about and trying to unpack and unearth. There's a lot of questions, and that's really why we're doing this tonight, is to try and help folks through those questions. Everything from like you mentioned earlier, Father, the rectory. Where is the rectory going to be located? I talked to a handful of families that said, I don't want to give yet until I know if the rectory is going to be on campus. Okay, so we answered that question. Another question is, another prevention that we've heard is, we address this, Father. You address this. I can only give this, and I've been asked for this, so I'm just not going to participate. No, please. That's not the response that we're asking you. Give what you can, right? So that's another impediment that some folks have expressed. So there are maybe about as number of reasons as there are different families, right? And so that's part of what we're trying to do is to be accessible and to answer your questions.
Will the Adoration Chapel be open 24 hours? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah. To have somewhere where we can, as St. Paul says, pray unceasingly, right? And to have that ability to come and be with the Lord and have a beautiful conversation with him and encounter him, be in his presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yeah. And we're also blessed to live in a day and an age, and sometimes we chide technology, but sometimes it's really helpful. And so we're at a point now where with security cameras and lights and so forth, we can make this a very safe thing to do as well, to be open 24 hours a day. So I would like to know how the new rectory and the new Family Life Center will be used. What is the need for the new rectory? Do you want to handle that one, Father?
Well, I think I addressed this earlier, but basically the need is there in terms of the current rectory was a 2-room rectory. There are 4 priests currently serving this community. We anticipate future growth and then the need for more priests, and also a place to house whenever we invite guest priests and missionaries to join us. And so that's kind of the need for the new rectory.
Yeah, and the Family Life Center, it's a great question, and I appreciate people saying that, because I know a lot of times a lot of our parishioners spend the majority of their time at St. Francis in the church for Mass, and so we ask you to think outside of that and think, okay, well, what else is there to do outside of Mass here at St. Francis? Of course, Mass, the liturgy of the Eucharist, is the highest form of prayer and celebration that we have, yes. But outside of that is the real reason for this new Family Life Center. So if you think about right now, tonight being Thursday night, we have our OCIA, formerly known as RCIA. So we've got about 60 candidates and their sponsors and volunteers crammed into the center of the parish hall, right? So that's a group where we're constantly getting people who are wanting to join the faith, to become Catholic, to convert, to receive the sacraments. And we're getting to a more and more year-round initiative, right? Because we want people to join, get on the train as any time of the year that they want to, but we don't have enough space for that, right? So we're trying to have a larger space for that. So we look at giving people the sacraments, helping people encounter the sacraments. We've talked about it already, the youth. And it's, I'm sure nothing frustrates a pastor more than having to tell a family that, I'm sorry, but there's a wait list for your kiddo to join, because we don't have enough space. That's the last thing a pastor wants to say to anybody. So formation would be something that will be a very big part of that, for not just for youth or for parents, but for all of us, for all adults that want to have the chance to come here to learn, to grow in our faith. We're about to announce a bit of a speaker series each Saturday during Lent. And, we're trying to really find a place to put that, to have that. And so the new Family Life Center will give us a chance for that too. Also for those small encounters, we see Gubbio's being used so much by people who just want to gather for a cup of coffee and pray or work or whatever, business people working during the day. And so the new Family Life Center will have a much larger space for that casual gathering and comfortable furniture for people to come in to use it without reserving a room. And of course, those 20+ meeting rooms. Cannot tell you how important that is. If you're involved in the ministry here at St. Francis, you know how vital meeting space is and how much of a premium it is at. And ask one of those groups that we've had to say no to, or say no, instead of meeting this number of times a month, you only meet this number of times a month. Again, that's nothing that we want to do, because we want to encourage people to be here to live out their faith.
What is the impact of the Diocese of Dallas capital campaign and the Mother Teresa Catholic School capital campaign on the campaign here at St. Francis? Well, certainly the impact to us will be our ability to give back 10% to the Mother Teresa Catholic School. The diocese will have its own capital campaign that will also include the Mother Teresa Catholic School, but the only impact that it will have on us is just our gift to the Mother Teresa Catholic School of that 10% donation.
Yeah, and I know a lot of folks may not know this, but the Mother Teresa Catholic School, they already have the land. The land is purchased for that, and it is in Frisco. It's about 7 or so minutes from St. Francis, and so we know that a lot of our families will be able to really take advantage of the school. Is the campaign money also focused on helping the new school that may be built? / is a Catholic school K-12 in the plans for the future? So yes, as we mentioned, there is 10% of our capital campaign that is going to the Mother Teresa Catholic School. And I know there's a question coming up about that. Some folks have asked us, you know what if I really just want to give separately to the Mother Teresa Catholic School, and I want to contribute to just the I Am With You Always campaign and have 100% of my funds go to the I Am With You Always campaign? And so we have to honor the donor intent. So whatever folks tell us they want the money to go to, then we will honor that intent. And we have had some of those families who have said, you know what, when that campaign starts, then I'll have that conversation. But for right now, I want my money to go to the I Am With You Always capital campaign.
Why isn't the Diocese of Dallas just building another parish in Salina or Prosper? So this is a question that the diocese is looking at, and it's not to say that in the future they will not, but in the proximate future, there is not the plan as yet. A couple of other challenges too. Finding land in this part of the area it's a formidable challenge. Land is very expensive here. And so that's one of the challenges. The second challenge is, even if we could build in the near future, how will we staff it, right? In other words, we need to work on vocations. And that's another, my challenge to Catholic families is to pray for vocations that come out of our families, because we do need more priests. And when we have more priests, then we can look at staffing future parishes. But in the meantime, in the near future, those are the two big challenges: finding the land that is reasonable in cost, and 2, having the vocations to be able to fill it. Right now, all of our priests are completely engaged in the life and ministry of our parishes. We don't have any extra priests, right? And so pray for more vocations. And it's not that the diocese is not looking at this, and in the future will build in this area in the north. But for right now, we have to accommodate the present needs, and so that's why this campaign is so important.
And we also might look at, and not to put words in the diocese's mouth, but it seems like a priority right now is the Mother Teresa Catholic School in this area as far as new projects, and that's obviously a very important initiative too. So
that's right.
Yeah. With existing operating budgets and things we know about obligations in the future, such as the Mother Teresa Catholic School operations and maintenance of new facilities, are you concerned about St. Francis being able to fund these things? This is a great question. It's how we be able to plan for the future. Right now we are in a very strong spot financially, and for the last several years, we have finished in the positive. We have finished in the black here at St. Francis. And I know, Kathleen, I know you have some additional information that you can also share with us as well about that.
Yes, and my answer to this is I'm not concerned at all. We are a little under in our collections as we publish in the bulletin, but we're also saving on expenses. So we have a very strong, as Deacon Alex said, he echoed that perfectly, that we have a very strong financial position. We also have a lot in savings, and we are able to take care of all our obligations. So I'm eager and looking forward to this expansion, this much needed expansion.
Also, Kathleen, if you could say a little bit about, we are under in regards to our revenue in Sunday Holy Day collections, but there are other sources of revenues that come in that assist us. And as you said, we always are able to accommodate the expenses to match what our revenue is bringing in.
That's true. What's in the bulletin is just a little snippet talking about collections. There's other sources of revenue we have, and some of those are up from budget. And again, as I mentioned, some of the expenses are under budget. The other thing, we are looking at other ways to fund the Mother Teresa School in the future. There are other sources of revenue we're looking at and considering. So no, full steam ahead. We're not concerned at all about being able to fund this.
And we're also, you mentioned in the bulletin, you might see us, maybe flat or just a hair underneath budget, but year to year, just revenue, we are ahead of where we were this time last year. Is that correct, Kathleen?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's been the case. I know this is your first year here at St. Francis, but that's been the case for several years now, where we have outpaced the previous year's
Yes.
revenue. Yeah.
Well, and because we're a growing community,
Yeah.
we're continually getting new parishioners. We're growing, and hence the need for the campaign. We are getting so large, we need new space.
And folks have been really good too about supporting the campaign, but also supporting their tithe, right? Giving their offertory each and every week as well. So we're grateful for that too, because
Yes, indeed.
as much as we need to build, we also need to keep everything running. So
Exactly. So some of the questions that have come up, I've pledged, but how do I set up my payments?
yes.
And we'll show you on the next slide exactly how you can do that. Essentially, you can do it online, and we'll show you that slide right here. If you go to the St. Francis website and go under Capital Campaign, you'll see there's a 3-step process. The first step is to complete your pledge, and if you do so, you can click on there and it'll bring up this form. Sam, that's great. So you'll bring up this form that you can fill out. It's pretty self-explanatory, exactly how much you want to pledge. Now, say you decide to pledge a certain amount, and then it turns out in a year maybe you got a raise, both you and your spouse got a raise, and said, I'd like to pledge a little bit more. You can always increase your pledge. So you just call the office and we can increase that. So it's not written in stone if you want to increase it. So step 2 is to make an initial down payment. We recommend 10 to 20%. So if your pledge is 10,000, and again, I'm just pulling a number out of the hat. We have to remember a widow's mite. Anything is wonderful. So there's no pledge too small. So say 10,000, and you want to give 10%. You'd put the 10,000, the $1,000 for the 10% of 10,000, and then go ahead and you click next, and it will take you to your PushPay account. It will ask you for your phone number and take you right into your account, and you can fill your pledge out there. And then step 3, if you'd like to set up, and this is where a lot of people have made initial payments, but they haven't set up reoccurring. That way you don't have to think about it each month. It's set up for you. You can set it up for 3 years. So as you can see the screen here, you can pick your frequency of donation. So there's every week, every 2 weeks. Most people pick every month. You can start whenever. Say you're not comfortable starting in February. Say you want to start in March, maybe even May. Whatever you're comfortable with. You can put your start date in there, and then you can put the number of gifts you want to make. So 36 gifts obviously is 3 years. So you can put 36, or if you want to do it, we do have some people that just do once a year. You can do that as well. Now, the other is you can set this up to be either ACH or credit card. So you do have a choice. It's not, we've had calls saying, I don't want to put my credit card in. You can also do it ACH, and they give you that choice.
And Kathleen, what's ACH for those who might not know?
So that would be like writing a check. It'd be a direct withdrawal from your bank account. So you would put in, there's a place to put in the routing number and the check number into the secure donation mechanism. And then every month your checking account would be debited.
Now,
And
Kathleen,
if anyone has any questions whatsoever, we get calls all the time in the finance office. Just give us a call, and we're more than happy to walk through it with you. If you need to change something, if you need instructions, if you find you're in a stopping point or have a glitch, don't hesitate to call us. We're here to help you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you. Now, Kathleen, if folks want to give in a different way outside of a check or credit card, can they make a stock donation?
Yes, good question. Good question, Deacon Alex. Yes, many people have taken advantage of appreciated stock and donated stock donation. So we have a form that you can fill out. It's actually, there is one on the website that we send to our broker, and you can transfer your equities or securities to our account, and then we liquidate them. And you'd also want, if you're doing that, you'd also want to make a pledge, just a pledge form, just so we know that's coming. And then go ahead and fill out the form. Again, if you have any questions at all, we're here to help.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, Kathleen. And I know some folks have or are in the position to do a qualified charitable deduction, a QCD from their IRA, and so that's also a possibility. We get that question quite a bit.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned too, I think that's a finer point, why the pledge, and we addressed it a little bit earlier, but please understand, one of the things that we have to know is a lot of folks want to give over 3 years. I even had someone last week say, "Can I give over 4 years?" Yes, of course you can give over 4 years, and to increase their total. But we need something to have a sense for the desire that you want to give us. And so if you just give us that one-time gift, but your desire is to give over a course of 2 or 3 years, and we don't know that, then it's hard for us to know how much we're raising. It's really hard for us to tell the diocese how much we have committed from our community. So that's the importance, that's the need of having a pledge, so we understand just what your exact desire and intention is.
Yes.
Great, thank you, Kathleen. Well, these are some great questions.
All right, so we have had some questions that have come in online. So I'm going to go through those, and Tim and I are going to go through and moderate those, and we'll answer as many as we can in the next few minutes. So let's start with the ones that came in. So the first one is, are we still paying for the current church? So what is the balance on the current loan from the church when it was built?
Yes, I can answer that question. The loan right now is about $2 million.
And it's a fixed interest rate that's rather low, correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. The next question that came in is there a big risk in facing rising construction costs if the project doesn't get started in the next 12 months? That's
a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. And I appreciate whoever asked that question, because there's a sense of urgency to do this for the need within the community, which we've shared, but delaying this does not make it get any less expensive, right? If you ever had brake work done, you hear your brakes squeak and you think, oh, I'll just do it later, right? It doesn't get cheaper, it doesn't get less expensive to take your brakes in 6 months. do it sooner than later. It's the same thing with construction costs. So the sooner we start, the more advantage we can take of what the costs are now versus taking the risk that they're going to go up even higher in the years to come. For sure, it's a great question.
All right. Next question was, do the plans no longer include a separate youth center, or is it just dedicated space in the Family Life Center?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. So the plans absolutely do include a separate building on the campus right now that would have that's just dedicated for youth. Yes, that is a second phase of the project. But knowing how important the youth are to our community and hearing the need from the youth and families and even other parents and families that they don't even have youth anymore. Their youth have grown and are on doing their own thing. How important that is, we have decided to put dedicated space in the Family Life Center just for youth. So to try to accomplish addressing that need in this first phase.
And just to put a finer point on that, if you remember, those of you who participated in the planning study at the beginning, we looked at the entire master plan, which the entire master plan includes that separate youth center. The total cost on that was between $65 and $70 million on the total plan. And so in this first phase, we went back to the architect to decide how, what are the things that are most important to get done first? Can we integrate youth space into that Family Life Center and make best of both situations until the future funding can be raised for that standalone youth center? All right, the next question, why can't the Adoration Chapel be included in the first $22 million goal?
Yeah, that's another great question. So kind of the way I would look at it is, what are the most pressing needs that we have? And right now it's space, logistical space for the meetings of the groups and organizations. The Adoration Chapel, we want to do all of it at once, but we do have places of prayers. It's not like people can't come and pray in our chapel or in our church. And so that's there for opportunities for prayer. But the most pressing need right now is the use of space for our groups and organizations, and so that's why we while we want to do all of it, we have planned to have the Adoration Chapel when we're able to raise the full 40 million, knowing that we do have a church and a chapel that people can come and pray in. Even though sometimes you may come and there's an event and you can't come in because of that. Well, but that addresses the need further down the line in that Adoration Chapel, which again we hope to complete as soon as possible. But if we had to make a choice, we have places, sacred spaces for prayer, and our most pressing needs are that ability to meet and carry on the mission.
And for anyone out there who's an architect or a contractor or in construction, you might be pounding the dashboard saying, wait a minute, isn't it going to be exponentially more expensive to add that on the Adoration Chapel on if we don't get it in this first round? And so the way, it's a great question too. The way we would do it is we would build the building itself of the Adoration Chapel, which is attached to the Family Life Center. It just would not be finished out, so it would be a shell. And so that's it would be added, or it would be finished out, so to speak, in the in those other goals, the other tiers.
All right, and the last question here, is there an estimated time to begin the project?
Yeah.
So we talked about that a little bit earlier, but can you reiterate kind of what
the hope is to have shovels in the ground at the end of 2025. If all goes well and we're able to reach our goals late April, early May, we are able to start construction in late 2025.
All right. Well, that is the last question that was submitted online. So thanks to everyone for your questions.
Yeah, wonderful questions. Thank you.
And again, if you have more questions, if people are watching this recording afterwards and you want to ask more questions or your questions weren't answered by the town hall, you are able to go onto the parish website at stfoafrisco.org. And at the very top of the homepage, there is a button that says Ask a Question under the Capital Campaign. You can go there and submit your question. Someone from the parish leadership will respond to that as quickly as possible. But like I said, we want to be completely transparent and make sure that everybody is getting the information they need to be able to make an informed decision for their discernment. But thanks to everybody for coming tonight.
And Sam, if I can just add real quick, a big thank you to you all who spent time tonight. And I gave this out the last couple of videos too. I wanted to say it again from that transparency. If you have questions, if you want to talk to me, I would be delighted to talk to you either over the phone or with a cup of coffee. So please call me. My direct number here at the parish is 214-216-7813. It does ring on my cell phone, and happy to talk to you whenever we can. 214-216-7813. Great.
Thank you all so much. May God bless you.
We'll see you this weekend.